Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Conversatio of the Good Life presentation. The goal of this presentation is firstly to answer the question, what is the good life? We've encountered a lot of ideas about this topic over the course of the year from a number of writers. I intend to both illuminate some of these ideas with my own thoughts as well as present an idea which I have found personally the most impactful. Um, Before we get into that, in fact, before we can even properly answer the question of the good life, it is essential to define exactly what we're talking about. Most goodness in connection to life, what do we mean? A life that is enjoyable or pleasurable to us, maybe a life spent doing what is right, or maybe even a life that leaves some sort of mark on history. All of these things could theoretically be goods, but which is the highest good? More on the types of goods later. It is also important to know whether, when speaking about this good life, we mean a sort of life which is good for us personally or good for everyone. Are the same principles of good living universally applicable? The basic crux of the matter is, if when we talk about whether a life is good or not, we define its goodness by the good or pleasure experienced within that life, or the good or right done within that life. Aptly, I have Saint Benedict looking disapprovingly at a Roman banquet. The Gospel of Luke, which we read last semester, provides a very clear voice for the pursuit of doing good as the primary expression of a good life. Christ says in this first passage that one must deny himself in order to follow him. Essentially, that in order to pursue the highest good, God in this case, one must give up all other goods. The Gospel of Matthew is even more extreme. In order to pursue the highest good, one must emulate the highest good, again, God. Um, but there are other ideas about the highest good. This material, though not encountered in Conversatio, I ran into via another class this year. This is a saying of Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher and the founder of the movement of Epicureanism, which, among other things, taught that the highest good is the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. Epicurus, as opposed to Christ, taught also that the mind was destroyed upon death, so there's no point in attempting to live a morally good life. There's no judgment. Um, so basically, we have these two competing ideas about what the good in the good life means. One is despite possible physical discomfort, is what makes a life good. The other is that seeking pleasure or good things makes a life good. Perhaps you've been picking up on my hints, but I believe these two things are sort of unified under St. Augustine's philosophy of temporal and external goods. I believe that understanding the proper relationship between these two things is what leads ultimately to a good life. To paraphrase, Augustine wrote that all things are good, but some are more good than others. The mistake is to chase after lesser goods in disproportionate ratio to the highest good. But the highest good, I believe, is a sense of meaning in life. Meaning comes from the things we cannot lose without, losing ourselves. Things we can rely on that give our life order: love, friendship, faith, a sense of right and wrong, uh, understanding the world around us. Eternal goods. Fulfilling our physical and financial needs may make us comfortable, but meaning, those eternal goods, those are the things which make us happy. I've entitled this slide Conversatio Solius, the individual way of life. Here are some examples of the personal pursuit of eternal goods in our texts from this year. Miranda and Ferdinand, for example, find meaning in their love for one another. It is not bound by circumstance or the possessions of either, but they love each other beyond all limit. The creature also is looking for meaning to his life through companionship, but he's alone. Despite the fact that he's nearly impervious to all physical uh, harm that would affect the average human, he is miserable. He can't find that eternal good. Finally, St. Benedict set out to form a community which would bring its members into communion with God, the highest good in his eyes, obviously, and also into fraternity with one another, also an eternal good. Finally, this slide, the way of life for all, brings us back to that earlier question. What do good lives have in common? Joseph Pieper writes that good life allows time for contemplation and passive understanding. But contemplation and passive understanding of what? I believe it is the understanding. I believe that it is the understanding of the difference between temporal and eternal goods in our lives, and the contemplation of and participation in those things which give our life meaning. Um, Working, practicing, the servile arts, pursuing temporal goods are simply means to an end, not ends in themselves. the end is play, contemplating and participating in those useless, meaningless things which make us happy, seeking the eternal good. Um, Finally, I must add that this pursuit of meaning makes human life meaningful because it is uniquely human. We are creatures who strive to find our place in the world, to understand why things work and why things don't, where we fit in. This is who we are, and this is what makes us happy. Prospero notes our lives are short and forgotten quickly. Life cannot be aimed at pleasing others nor seeking remembrance. The personal goal must be finding that meaning, which, to quote an old maxim, brings ordo ab chaos, the order from the chaos. That which gives a sense to a world which often, unfortunately, makes very little sense. Thank you very much for watching my presentation.